The soft morning light filtered through the tall windows of Adelaide Cottage, casting a gentle glow on the stack of correspondence before her. Catherine, Princess of Wales, sat with a cup of tea growing cold at her elbow, her focus entirely absorbed by the private and confidential letter she had received the previous evening. It was a letter that confirmed a suspicion she had harbored for months. A suspicion about Queen Camilla that went far beyond the usual palace intrigue about who sat where at a banquet. For years, the narrative presented to the public had been one of a blended family finding its feet. Kate had worked hard to be that bridge, the peacemaker royal biographers like Angela Levin had written about. She had spent time cultivating a relationship with her father-in-law, King Charles, a bonding over their shared love of art and the outdoors. She had made concerted efforts with Camilla, too, arranging private teas at Clarence's house when William was away, trying to find common ground. She had told herself it was for the good of the family, for the stability of the monarchy, for her husband, William. She had swallowed the petty slights over the years, the reported insistence that her mother, Carol Middleton, use a servant's entrance at Clarence's house, the subtle reminders of hierarchy that felt less like tradition and more like humiliation. She had remained silent when Camilla's children were seemingly pushed closer to royal privileges, and she had even supported the king's wish to have Camilla crowned queen beside him. But the letter in her hand changed everything. It wasn't an official document, but a personal account from a source she trusted implicitly, detailing a pattern of behavior that was not just about personal rivalry, but about the very future of the crown. The secret was not a simple one, like a hidden feud or a difference of opinion on royal protocol. It was something far more significant. The documents outlined a series of private meetings Camilla had held with senior courtiers and advisors, meetings that actively worked to undermine policies William was passionate about, particularly his ambitious homelessness project, Homewards. They revealed a concerted effort to redirect funds and royal focus away from causes Kate and William were championing, and toward those that would bolster Camilla's own public image, such as her work on domestic violence. While supporting such a cause was noble, the secret lay in the method. The document suggested Camilla was leveraging her position to not just coexist with the Wales's work, but to systematically ensure her legacy projects were prioritized in the king's schedule and public funding, leaving William's initiatives to struggle. It was a calculated power play, a silent coup d'etat within the palace corridors. Kate's hands trembled slightly as she reread a paragraph detailing how Camilla had subtly advised the king to postpone a major announcement regarding William's environmental Earthshot prize, claiming it would overshadow a sensitive diplomatic visit. It was clever, almost invisible to the outside world, but devastatingly effective. This wasn't a stepmother trying to find her place. This was a queen consolidating her power at the expense of the future king. A soft knock on the door broke her reverie. It was William, his face etched with the familiar lines of worry that had deepened since his father's and his wife's cancer diagnoses earlier in the year. "Everything all right?" he asked, his eyes falling to the letter in her hand. Kate looked up, her blue eyes clear and steely with a resolve he hadn't seen in months. "No, William," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "I think we need to talk. I found out something about Camilla, something that changes everything." The atmosphere at the bribery bill and the subsequent state banquet for the President of the United States should have been one of polished unity. Instead, for those with eyes to see, it was a battlefield. The secret Kate now carried was a heavy weight, and it made her hyper-aware of every glance. And for photographs, the cameras captured the cameras captured a moment that would go viral within hours. As Kate stood gracefully, poised and radiant in a white gown, Queen Camilla, beside her, appeared to gesture for her to move. Body language experts on social media would later dissect the clip, calling it a dismissive sweep of the hand, a public correction that seemed designed to remind everyone of the hierarchy. To Kate, it felt like a declaration. Later, during the formal dinner, Kate watched from her seat. She observed how Camilla leaned into the king's conversations, subtly steering them away from topics William was trying to broach. She saw the coolness in Camilla's eyes when Kate received a warm compliment from the American First Lady. It was no longer just suspicion. The secret she had uncovered made every action crystal clear. The breaking point, however, came not at the banquet table, but in a private drawing room afterward. A small group had gathered for an after-dinner digestive. Kate found herself in a quiet corner with a senior palace aide, an elderly woman who had served the royal family for decades. The conversation was light, until Kate, perhaps emboldened by the tension of the evening, mentioned her hopes for the Earthshot Prize in the coming year. The aide's face flickered with an emotion Kate couldn't quite read. Pity? Warning? "It's a wonderful vision, Your Royal Highness," the aide said softly, her voice barely a whisper. "But you must understand. Our visions require more than just a champion. They require the machinery of the palace to run them, and that machinery has many operators." Before Kate could respond, Camilla glided over, her smile fixed and glacial. "Dominating the conversation as always, Catherine," she said, her tone light, but her eyes sharp. She turned to the aide. "I'm so sorry to interrupt, but the king was asking for you. Something about the schedule for tomorrow." As the aide scurried away, Camilla turned her full attention to Kate. For a moment, the mask slipped. The public geniality vanished, replaced by a cold, appraising stare. "You look lovely tonight," Camilla said, the compliment a weapon. "It's so important to look the part, isn't it? The people need to see a pretty face, someone to smile at them. It makes the harder realities elsewhere more palatable." The implication was clear. Kate was the decoration. Camilla was the power. In that moment, Kate made a decision. She would no longer just be the peacemaker, silently enduring. The secret she held was a weapon, too, and it was time to use it, not to wound, but to protect her husband's future. She offered a tight smile of her own. "I'm glad you approve of the uniform, ma'am," she replied, her voice steady. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I promised William I'd say good night." As she walked away, she felt Camilla's gaze on her back, a physical weight. The Cold War had just found its first open battlefield. The atmosphere at Kensington Palace in the days following the state banquet was fraught with an unspoken tension. William paced the floor of their sitting room, his frustration palpable. "She's systematically boxing us in." Kate," he said, running a hand through his hair. "Every time I think we have a clear run at a project, a new urgent priority comes down from the palace that requires resources, staff, and attention. It's like fighting smoke." Kate sat calmly on the sofa. The incriminating letter and its accompanying notes spread before her on the coffee table. "It's not smoke, William. It's a strategy, and we've been treating it like a family squabble when it's a political campaign." She had spent the last few days doing what she did best, preparing. She had cross-referenced the information in the letter with public statements, official engagements, and charity reports. The pattern was undeniable. Just as the Prince Andrew situation had erupted, forcing the king to strip his brother of his remaining titles, Kate saw the same dynamic at play. And sources had noted then that both Camilla and Catherine had been involved in that family decision, with William taking a strong stance. Kate realized that those moments of crisis were where true influence was wielded, and she had been sidelined. The current crisis point came in the form of a leaked story to a tabloid. The headline screamed about the growing rift between the two royal women, citing unnamed sources claiming Kate was obsessed with her image and pushing Camilla out. It was classic palace warfare, poison the well of public opinion. Hours later, another story emerged. This one about the Wales family's planned move to a new home, a private decision they had wanted to keep quiet until they were ready. William was furious. "This is a direct hit. They leaked our house move to cover up a story about Camilla's own PR disaster with that billionaire's yacht." Kate nodded. "It's a coordinated response. They see us making a move, and they're retaliating. But William, we have to stop reacting and start acting." She pointed to a timeline she had drawn. "Look at this. Every time we've had a major initiative, a negative story about us has appeared, perfectly timed to deflect from a story about Camilla or to undermine our announcement. It's not a coincidence. It's a machine." The secret she had uncovered wasn't just about Camilla's ambition. It was about the network of courtiers and advisors who were facilitating it. People who had sworn loyalty to the crown were, in effect, choosing sides in a battle between the present and the future. They were whispering in the king's ear, framing Camilla's priorities as essential to his legacy and William's as premature or self-serving. "We can't go to Papa with accusations," William said, sinking into a chair. "He's unwell. He's under immense pressure. He'll see it as us attacking his wife." "Then we don't go to him with accusations," Kate said, a plan forming in her mind. "We go to him with a choice, and we let him see the truth for himself." The strategy Kate devised was brilliant in its simplicity. She would use the one thing Camilla craved most, public recognition and validation, as the stage for the revelation. The king had recently announced a formal ceremony to honor those who had contributed significantly to the crown's work, a Royal Legacy Award. Both Camilla and Kate were on the short list for their respective charitable efforts. Kate knew that Camilla would lobby hard for the award. She would see it as the ultimate public confirmation that her work, her place, was paramount. The secret meetings, the manipulation of funds, the undermining of William, it was all in service of this kind of recognition. Kate arranged a private meeting with the king. It was a delicate dance. She couldn't arrive as an accuser. She arrived as a concerned daughter-in-law, seeking his wisdom. They met in his study at Buckingham Palace, a room filled with the weight of history. Charles, looking tired but regal, greeted her warmly. "My dear, how are you? And the children?" he asked. "We're all well, Papa," Kate said, taking a seat. "I wanted to speak with you about something important, about the future." She chose her words with the precision of a surgeon. She didn't mention Camilla directly. Instead, she talked about her vision for the Wales's role in the monarchy. She spoke of William's deep commitment to his causes and of her own desire to ensure their work complemented, rather than competed with, the king's legacy. She then gently raised a concern. "I've noticed, Papa, that there seems to be a friction in the palace machinery. Projects we're passionate about seem to stall, while others, equally worthy, surge ahead. I worry that the institution, with the best intentions, might be creating unnecessary competition where there should only be collaboration." Charles listened, his expression unreadable. He was a man caught between his wife and his son, a position of profound loneliness. Kate then produced, not the secret letter, but a simple anonymized chart. It showed the allocation of palace support staff, communication resources, and scheduling priority for major royal projects over the past year. The data spoke for itself. One set of projects, which Kate did not name, had received a disproportionate share of resources compared to others. "I'm not here to make demands, Papa," Kate said softly. "I'm here to ask for your help in making sure the system is fair. For everyone. For the good of the family." She left the chart with him. She didn't need to name Camilla. The king was intelligent enough to see where the imbalance lay and to ask the necessary questions about who had been directing the resources. The seed was planted. The day of the Royal Legacy Award ceremony arrived. The palace gardens were bedecked with flowers, and the great and good of British society mingled under marquees. And Kate, in a soft pink dress, moved through the crowd with practiced grace, her smile never faltering. She watched as Camilla worked the room, her confidence high, clearly expecting the honor. King Charles took to the small stage. He spoke eloquently about service, about duty, and about the quiet heroes who supported the crown. He praised the work of many, mentioning both Camilla's advocacy for survivors of domestic abuse and Kate's work on early childhood development. Then came the moment of decision. "The Royal Legacy Award," Charles announced, "is not just for a single achievement. It is for demonstrating a vision that strengthens the monarchy for generations to come. It is for showing a profound understanding that our work is not about us, but about those we serve." He paused, and the silence was deafening. "I quietly and consistently built bridges, championed crucial causes, and shown unwavering strength in the face of personal challenge. The award goes to my beloved daughter-in-law, Catherine, the Princess of Wales." A ripple of applause broke out, mixed with surprise. Kate's eyes widened in genuine shock. Camilla's smile froze, then tightened into a thin line of displeasure. As Kate walked to the stage to accept the award from the king, she felt the weight of Camilla's stare. This was not just an award. It was a public anointing, a clear signal from the monarch about where his confidence lay for the future. The fallout was immediate and, then as Kate had anticipated, it forced Camilla's hidden agenda into the open. The Queen was furious. The public snub, as she saw it, was the final straw. Later that evening, away from the cameras, the fragile peace shattered. In a private drawing room with only William, Charles, and a few senior aides present, the confrontation finally happened. Camilla, her composure gone, turned on Kate. "How dare you?" she seethed, her voice low and venomous. "How dare you manipulate your way into this? You think this is a game? You think you can just waltz in and take what I have worked decades to achieve?" Kate stood her ground, William a solid, protective presence at her side. "I have taken nothing that wasn't given freely by the king," Kate replied, her voice calm but firm. "I have only ever tried to serve this family." "Serve?" Camilla scoffed. You've been undermining me from the start, holding secret meetings, turning William against his father, trying to rewrite history." It was then that Charles, looking profoundly weary, spoke. "Enough." The single word cut through the tension like a blade. He looked at his wife, his expression a mixture of sadness and resolution. "I have seen the reports, Camilla. I have seen the schedules, the resource allocations. I know about the meetings." He didn't elaborate, but his meaning was clear. He knew. The secret was out. The careful facade Camilla had constructed had crumbled. The weeks that followed were a period of painful, necessary readjustment. There were no dramatic firings or public statements. Instead, there was a quiet but definitive shift. The palace machinery was recalibrated. Staff were moved. A clearer protocol for managing the charitable portfolios of both households was established, ensuring transparency and balance. The king, having been presented with the truth, made his choice. The future of the monarchy would be built on a partnership with his son and daughter-in-law, not in competition with them. In the aftermath, Kate found a new kind of peace. It wasn't born of winning a battle, but of finally being able to be her authentic self within the gilded cage. The secret she had uncovered had been painful, but exposing it to the light had been liberating. She sat with William on the terrace of a quiet royal residence, watching their children play on the lawn. The political storms of the palace seemed a world away. "You were incredible," William said, taking her hand. "You saw the path when I was just reacting. You saved us." Kate shook her head, leaning into him. "We saved ourselves. We just had to stop being afraid of the truth." She thought about Camilla. There was no victory in her defeat, only a profound sadness. The queen had spent her life fighting for her place, but in doing so, she had almost destroyed the very family she had fought to join. The months passed. There were no more leaked stories designed to wound. The public began to see a more united front, a family finding its equilibrium. Camilla remained a dedicated consort to the king, focusing on her own work with a renewed dignity. And Kate, now more confident than ever, stepped fully into her role as the future queen. She launched new initiatives for her Shaping Us campaign with the full weight of palace support behind her. And the title of the story had been Kate Uncovers Camilla's Hidden Secret. But the secret was never really about a single letter or a plot. The real secret, the one Kate had uncovered within herself, was the knowledge that true strength in the monarchy did not come from maneuvering for power. It came from the courage to serve with integrity, to fight for your family not with weapons, but with unwavering principles. As she looked out at her children, at her husband, at the long green lawn stretching toward a future she now felt ready to embrace, Kate knew the most important lesson of all. The crown was a heavy burden, but it was not one she had to carry alone. And it was not a prize to be won. It was a trust to be honored. The palace walls still held their secrets, but the air inside them finally felt a little easier to breathe.